Have any citizens or public comments? Seeing none, welcome everybody. Consideration of approval of the agenda.
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Agenda is approved as submitted. Consideration of approval of the minutes of the March 2 and March 11 meetings. Any discussion or questions?
So move. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
The minutes of the March 2 and March 11 meetings are approved. Consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Any questions regarding the consent calendar?
So move. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye. Consent calendar is approved as submitted. Mayor, we have a proclamation. Does somebody wish to step forward and request approval of the proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month for April?
Good evening, gentlemen. William Vetter. I'm the president of Floyd County Child Abuse Prevention Council meeting. We have different things teamed up this year from last year. We're doing radio ads, coloring contest, Blue Out Day at a couple of schools, newspaper stories, 101 affirmations we're going to submit to churches to put in bulletins, library displays, and probably something new this year is we're putting what we call Blue People in Central Park. I got approval from the Park Commission, kind of like Main Street did for the elves. We're going to put them in the corners of Central Park, and they have a little sign on them that talks about child abuse prevention, what people can do. We change them out every couple of days throughout the month. So that's kind of our big push for Child Abuse Prevention Month of April, and we requested that the mayor make a proclamation for April for that cause.
Any questions regarding the request? So move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Proclamation's approved. I'll come down and read it.
Thank you to you and your committee for what you do.
Whereas Iowa's children are one of the most precious resources in our state and provide the hope for a brighter tomorrow in Iowa, and whereas it is the responsibility of the citizens of this state to ensure a safe and pleasant atmosphere for our children, helping them grow up to be responsible and loving adults, and whereas in Iowa and across the nation, children suffer abuse and neglect in reported and unreported situations in frightening numbers, and whereas child abuse is a crime knowing no social or economic boundaries, and whereas public awareness regarding child abuse is encouraged by Prevent Child Abuse America and by other national and local organizations. Now therefore I do hereby proclaim the month of April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Charles City, Iowa, and urge citizens to become more actively aware of the problems of child abuse in our communities and become involved to help eliminate this problem permanently in Iowa and our nation. In testimony whereof I've hereunto subscribed my name and caused the seal of the City of Charles City, Iowa to be affixed the 16th day of March 2015. I think everybody does know that this is a very serious problem that confronts our community as well as the entire state and country. Some of the statistics are not particularly encouraging, as a matter of fact, so we need to redouble our effort, and this is just part of that effort, and you're to be commended for getting to the front lines in regard to it.
Thank
you
Mayor.
very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you. City Council members, thank you.
Okay. Now open a public hearing on the library entry door project. Do we have an affidavit of publication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do we have any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Any oral comments or objections?
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Hearing's closed. Consideration of Resolution 30-15, approving final plans and specs and form of contract. Discussion.
Yes, the library board's been working with Wagner Weininger Architects to develop a plan and a project to replace the automatic entrance doors and also to correct the settlement issues at the entryway. No addendums were issued during the bidding process, so the final plans match the previously approved preliminary documents. So we recommend acceptance of Resolution 30-15, approving the final plans for the library entrance renovation project.
Any questions or discussion?
One of the things we talked about is, with this location about potential additional settling, we discussed that the cracks had been monitored, and it's sufficient to say that the engineering opinion is that it has, for the most part, stopped moving. Did I put that right?
Yeah, during the course of, actually we monitored it for the past year, both the cracks and the elevations.
Other discussion or questions?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Resolution 30-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 31-15, awarding contract. Discussion.
Well, bids were received last Thursday, March 12th, and one bid was received from Quaid Construction. Quaid Construction submitted a base bid in the amount of $38,000. Now, if it's determined at the time of construction that material underneath the entryway needs to be removed and replaced with more acceptable material, that work will be done at a cost of $230 per cubic yard. But it's really only a matter of, it has to be seen at the time of construction to determine actually what that material is underneath the concrete there. And in addition to the base bid, the interior automatic door can be replaced at a cost of $12,450. The base bid covers the exterior automatic door. So we recommend approval of Resolution 31-15, awarding the contract to Quaid Construction for the library entrance renovation project.
Discussion.
I'm sorry if there are any specific questions. Jill Gray is here.
How many entities did we approach to bid this project?
Actually, Wagner Weininger Architects, they were handled the distribution of the project plans and specs, and they had submitted it to area plan rooms as well. I don't know how many were actually on the plan holders list.
Okay. Just curious. I'm happy that we had one of our local contractors at least provide us with a bid.
So you're looking at over $50,000, little over $50,000 to take care of the problem.
Was there an estimate?
Yes. Let's see, their estimate for this one, I think was around $39,000 for the base bid. They didn't have estimates for the alternates. They being Wagner Weininger Architects.
What was that alternate again? The exterior door?
Well, I'm sorry, the architect had an estimate for the base bid at $39,000. They didn't provide us with an estimate for the add alternates for the automatic doorway, the interior doorway, and the for the work to remove and replace if there's unacceptable material underneath the concrete.
And what was the basic bid? In comparison to 39,000.
Oh, the Quaid submitted a bid of 38,000.
Okay.
I think the point being, anytime we receive one bid, whether or not it's competitive with what the engineer's estimate of what the cost is going to be. I think that was the point behind it.
Yeah.
When will you determine if the inside door needs to be replaced?
Pardon me?
When will you determine when the inside door needs to be replaced?
Well, we can, it's a matter of determining it now, because we'd want to approve the contract with that alternate in it.
Is the contract with both doors being replaced in it, John?
No, the base bid is
It's
the
without it.
exterior.
Yes.
If we wanted to do both, it would be the 38,000 plus the
Plus the alternate.
12,450.
But that's what you're proposing, is that's what we approve for a contract, correct?
And I'll also let Jill talk about, from information from the library board.
Yeah, I mean,
It's up to the,
oh, okay. I mean, we'll accept whatever you guys decide to do, obviously.
identify yourself,
Oh.
please.
My name is Jill Gray, and we will accept whatever you guys decide to do, because obviously it's, it's coming from your funding and you're approving this. To me, it makes some sense to replace the interior door at the same time. It's 15 years old, even though right now it's not currently causing a lot of problems. I think, easily they could go with a different door company, and then we'd have two different places for service. And, maybe in another 2 or 3 years, we'd have to have back out to replace it. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
But as far as the contract we're approving, is it approving just the exterior, or if they determine at the time that the interior needs to be replaced, that we're authorizing that to go forward as the...
Yeah. And I'm not sure that it's a need whether or not. I think it's a decision whether or not you want to go ahead and replace that at this point.
And I think that's what we're trying, that might be what we're
Yeah.
discussing, is whether or not we're doing what the contract, is the contract just for the exterior, or is it for the exterior and then some of these add-ons, some of these alternates that we're authorizing to go ahead with those as well, if they're determined to be necessary, or the right time to do it.
The way I understood you, John, was that you were promoting it that we should do the base bid plus the 12,450. That's what you were recommending we approve.
Yeah, based on, from what the library board too has been saying, that it makes sense to do this all at one time rather than break it up separately and having, a new door and then just 10 feet away a 15-year-old door. So,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
But we want to try to get we wanted to know what the prices were going to be, so that's why the bid was separated like it was.
The source of funding for this, we got it budgeted?
Well, a couple years ago, you guys put some extra money in my budget, which was $60,000, which would cover the door project, but it's not going to cover all of these projects.
We had that years ago, and it's laying there, and you never used it?
That's right. We've been waiting and planning and waiting and planning, yes. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
So moved for both the original plus the inside door as well.
Second.
Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Resolution 31-15 is approved. Public hearing on library exterior tuck pointing project. Open the hearing. We have an affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Any oral comments or objections?
Move to close, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
The hearing's closed. Consideration of Resolution 32-15, approving final plans and specs and form of contract. Discussion.
Again, the library board, working with Wagner Weininger Architects, developed this plan and project to make the repairs needed for the exterior wall at the library. No addendums were issued during the bidding process, so the final plans match the previously approved preliminary documents. So we recommend acceptance of Resolution 32-15, approving the final plans for the library exterior wall repair project.
So
Further
move.
discussion?
So move.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager. Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 32-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 33-15 awarding the contract. Discussion.
This project was also let last Thursday, and one bid was received for this project from Schoonover Tuck Pointing Company. Their base bid was $29,870. There were also 2 unit price bids requested on the proposal form. The 2 unit price bids requested was one for tuck pointing, additional tuck pointing, and one was for removal and replacement of bricks. Wagner and Weiniger Architects, they, on the project plans, they located all the cracks that needed to be replaced or tuck pointed and any brickwork that needed to be corrected. But at the time of construction, if there are additional tuck pointing that's needed, that would be done at a price of $5 per foot. And if there's any bricks that need to be removed and replaced, that would be done at a cost of $20 per brick. That would be if there's anything located during time of construction that wasn't actually identified on the project plans. We recommend approval of Resolution 33-15 awarding the contract for the library exterior wall repair project to Schoonover Tuck Pointing Company.
How much is that?
The base bid, $29,870.
Yeah.
And what was the estimate? Same questions.
Wagner Weiniger's estimate was $30,000.
And do we know how many bids, how many other outfits had an opportunity to bid it?
There's just not a lot of these companies that do this type of work, and the ones that are, they're very busy. I don't know how many had actual plans.
Where's this bidder from?
Benton.
Benton?
They ever done work for the city before or anywhere around here?
Sure.
You sure may.
Jill Gray again. I was at the pre-bid meeting, and we had another tuck pointer from Osage that said that the time that we were trying to get this done in was probably inadequate, and I think that they extended the amount of time that it could get done. Was that into September?
They did do that, yeah.
Right. And when the bids came in, the architects met with me in my office when we opened it and said this guy was very reputable. So apparently, at least according to our architects, it's a good company. But according to them, it's a small, messy job. And that's why we're not seeing a lot of interest, just because it's a lot of fiddling around with an older, with the building, doing repairs rather than maybe a great big building that might be a little bit more worth another company's time. So that's why I think why we didn't get a lot of interest in bids.
Okay, thank you, Jill. That's
Sure.
kind of what we're looking for.
Oh.
Appreciate that.
How old is that building, the library?
1978. It's not a tremendously old building.
Remember that, about the time you started collecting Social Security.
Further discussion?
So then we're paying the prior bill of $50,000 out of the $60,000 that we had set aside. So where's the $30,000 for this project coming from?
I don't know. I don't have any
Okay,
money right now to put that on.
Steve?
And
Steve?
Aside from our cash balance, I guess that's where it'd be coming out of our cash reserves.
Okay. Is that what we had considered when we talked about this, or?
I don't know that we considered that.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't budget anything additional this budget year for this project. So,
Well, we've got to maintain the building. It'll cost us more afterwards.
Well, beyond the doors, I mean, this is more likely going forward, but beyond the doors, was the tuck pointing necessary for this year that we couldn't have maybe budgeted the money for it for the next season possibly, I guess. I don't know. It's always nicer when we have a budget instead of when we kind of just have to pull from other sources.
From your
I
budget.
apologize not really having any idea how much any of this stuff is going to cost. I've never done a building project, and it seems like things kind of keep growing. The tuck pointing problem is going to continue to get worse. They said, we're surprised you haven't seen any water when they did the initial study about 2 years ago when he walked around and documented all the cracks. And I said, oh, that building's, that's not causing me the issues the door is. Well, then last week when all the snow melted, we had quite a bit of water in the Zastra room because it came in through a crack in the foundation. And they said every year you get water in the foundation and in the cracks, and then it expands when it freezes. So it's just going to keep becoming more and more of a problem for us. So.
It needs to be done. We can squeeze it in, even if we have to raise the rent on 401 North Main.
Well, what we could do too is, I mean, that would be an essential corporate purpose
Yeah.
next year during budget season, if we want to certify that under our pre-levy like we do for some of our other projects. We could consider doing that to pay ourselves back if we're paying in advance this year.
That's a good point.
Something in arrears.
Yeah. I'd
With that
be
in
happy
mind,
to
I
look
would-
for alternate funding too.
With that in mind, I would so move.
Second.
Any further questions?
I wasn't trying to short you, Jill.
No.
Well, we understand it needs to get done, but when we have to vote on this stuff, it's nice to know what the numbers are, and I guess I'm not looking at just you for that information, so.
No. Essentially, it's going to be in the library budget is how you're going to make it up. Okay. Any further questions? Clerk, call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Resolution 33-15 is approved. Public hearing on 2015 HMA project. Open the hearing. They have an affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Any oral comments or objections?
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Hearing's closed. Consideration resolution 34-15 approving final plans and specs in form of contract. Discussion.
Yeah, the City Council approved the preliminary plans and specifications for this project at their February 17th meeting. The 2015 HMA paving project will include the paving construction in the Yorkshire area. And on Hart Street from Walnut to Riverside, approximately 1 block of HMA paving on Riverside Drive, and about another 300 lineal feet of HMA paving on Rove Avenue to correct a settlement issue. What we'll also do is resurface the parking lot between the City Hall and the river. There were 2 addenda issued during the bidding process. One revised the proposal sheet, and there were also clarifications made on the water main construction. So the final construction documents essentially match the previously approved preliminary plans and specifications. So we recommend approval of Resolution 34-15, approving the final plans.
Questions?
So move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 34-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 35-15, awarding contract. Discussion.
Well, we received 2 bids on March 5th. One bid was from Heartland Asphalt out of Mason City. They had a bid of approximately $436,000, 646. And the second bid was from Blacktop Services, Humboldt, Iowa. They came in at $515,233. Heartland Asphalt, they're a North Iowa contractor, and they have successfully completed other projects for us before. So we recommend approval of Resolution 35-15, awarding the bid to Heartland Asphalt.
What was our estimate on it?
480,000.
Other questions or discussion?
And financing for this one?
Local option.
So move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 35-15 is approved. Public hearing on a general obligation corporate purpose loan agreement, principal amount not to exceed $642,000. Open the hearing. We have an affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Any oral comments or objections?
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Okay, the hearing's closed. Consideration of a motion approving engagement letter with Dorsey Whitney for this borrowing. Discussion?
Essentially, this is our agreement with Dorsey and Whitney, our bonding attorney, for the work done with this levy certification in an amount not to exceed $2,500.
Is this something new or
The
different?
engagement letter, I believe, is new, but we've always generally assumed it's going to be around a $2,500 top-end price tag to do this. This year, we actually have something on paper that says that, so not quite sure what prompted it. We didn't necessarily ask for it.
No,
but
we didn't.
He provided it, so that was helpful.
Yep, and the only other question I had was, in here it talks about 262,000 in their letter, and the total debt's not to exceed 642
Right. The 262 would be the actual items
listed on the...
listed there
Right.
that we're looking to levy for,
Right.
with actually probably about $2,500 difference in between them, thereabouts. But the total 642 is being discussed tonight because that includes the $370,000 for the water debt service general obligation loan that we're going to take out to help do the main replacement on Yorkshire and Lake Shore, as well as the lime removal out at the plant. So those two items together equal that 642. We're
Right.
just under that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on what they were actually quoting us.
I'd so move.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
The motion is approved. Consideration of Resolution 36-15, authorizing a loan agreement and the future issuance of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Discussion.
Now, this is the actual loan agreement to levy for those specific items that we listed out that are essential corporate purpose that we will be levying for under debt service as one general debt service loan to cover those itemized items there, which is a very similar list to what we had done last year. Some of the changes, I know some of the riverfront stabilization we increased, tree removal, we've adjusted some of those, but by and large, a lot of those amounts are the same.
And this has all been vetted through the attorney and all that, right?
That's correct.
And this does include the 370 for the other project as well.
For the water project.
Yep. So move for 36-15.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 36-15 is approved. Request from Community Revitalization for barbecue event and Charles City Challenge on June 13. Discussion. Who wants to stand up on that?
Mark, you wanna bring us up to speed?
Don't all get up at once.
We're thinking about blocking off the street, so better tell us why.
Sorry, we woke you up, Mark.
I was trying to figure out how I was going to pay for that extra rent at 401. We are asking for use of city property for the annual Charles City Whitewater Weekend, the Charles City Challenge. And this year we're adding a few things to it, so we're seeking permission to use the entire riverfront park, as well as the parking lot in front of Torrey's here, the band shell for our event announcements, boat launch area, and use of existing portable toilets and trash receptacles. We've been having, with the Charles City Challenge, we've had the dog jog. Paws does that, I believe. In the morning, we are looking at adding a disc golf tournament this year to take advantage of the park with its disc golf. And then we're also moving the barbecue event that has been with the 4th of July. We're moving it to this year to the Whitewater Challenge Day because of the way the 4th of July falls this year on a Saturday. And we're having an issue with how many days we could fit events in. So we're calling it the Charles City Barbecue Challenge this year, and it will take place during the afternoon. The grills will start first thing in the morning, and we'll move up the time when the public will be able to actually sample and vote on the barbecue so that it corresponds right with the end of the Whitewater Challenge event. That same day will also be the cardboard boat race that First Security Bank and Trust puts on, and that'll be right there in front of where the barbecues are going to be in the Torrey's parking lot. So we're really looking forward to a busy day there to take full advantage and highlight our riverfront. And I have talked to both Torrey's and the Charles City Press about our plans that day, and they've been fully supportive. We were asking, as part of this, that we block off the street that runs behind City Hall here and behind the Charles City Press. We'll be having a beanbag tournament going on that day, and have that in that location as well.
Spoken with the interim chief as well about that, police department.
We'll be working
Street
with the police
department and
department closely
everybody's-
on that, yes.
Okay.
They'll still have access with the front of the building, and because it's a Saturday, the press is okay with that.
Yeah, and we have discussed that with the chief and with, I know John actually spoke to the press, and I don't think there's any issues that we could think of for closing it off that day. I mean, you know, it cuts off access to the utility drop box, but, you know, people can still park and walk up to that. But aside from that, I think the intrusion is minimal, so.
Good.
When is the repaving of that parking lot? I guess, I was looking for a date. I don't want these two to conflict, but if we're resurfacing this parking lot back here, where are those dates?
Really, they have to have it done before that date or wait until after it's...
Okay, well, that's kind of what I was saying is,
Yeah.
are both sides, the city and the Revite, on the same page as far as that goes?
Yeah.
I'm assuming we wouldn't allow that conflict to happen. So, okay.
That'd be the day they'd want to do it. That's the guarantee.
Yeah, so as long as the contractors are aware, I guess, of the time frames. So.
And to clarify, I know we talked earlier at a workshop about this event, and at that time it was scheduled for May 30th, and it had to be rescheduled to June 13th due to a number of outside conflicts that have arose since that initial discussion. Same thing with the Iowa Summer Games. They were in charge of that date. That was originally scheduled for June 20th. That is now June 27th.
Other questions or discussion?
So move.
Second.
Looks like an ambitious weekend.
What we wanted to do.
City's in charge of the weather too, right? I can make that part of the request.
That's the other thing.
Need a proclamation for that one.
Clerk, call the roll.
Do we
Stop.
have
Oh, sorry.
the motion, do we have the action on our agenda?
Yeah, it's on the back page. It got to the top of the next page, so. The very top, right
page
there,
3.
your left thumb.
Okay.
Well,
The top of my agenda 4 page?
No, top page 3.
Top of page 3.
Okay.
Way at the top.
Yeah, don't miss page 3. That's the big page.
Yeah.
Says
Oh, got
motion.
it. Sorry, it just says motion.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's
Perfect.
before. Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt.
Did you call for a roll, sir?
Yep.
Okay. Starr,
Aye.
Yeager,
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Okay, the motion
Oh, there it
is
is.
approved.
Yeah, it's way above.
Okay. Thank you. Consideration of Resolution 37-15, approving preliminary plans and set date for letting and public hearing on Housing 2015 Capital Improvement Project. Discussion.
I'm Heidi Nielsen, the Housing Director. At the Housing Department, we've been working with Wagner and Weiniger Architects to prepare plans and bid documents for our 2015 capital improvement projects. The projects include installing or replacing handrails at all 3 sites to ensure that they're ADA compliant, the 3 sites being South Cedar Terrace, North Cedar Terrace, and Morningside Apartments. We also plan to do some minor renovations to also ensure compliance with the interior of some of our apartments with the ADA regulations, and those would be units 81 through 84 at North Cedar Terrace and units 129 through 132 at North Cedar Terrace. In addition, we will be painting the window trim on the units at North Cedar Terrace 81 through 128. And the last part of the project will be to replace the siding at Morningside Apartments. The capital improvement grants from 2013, 2014, and 2015 will provide the funding for all of the improvements and all of the projects. The Housing Board has reviewed and approved the plans and cost estimate, and they do recommend approval. Pending approval, bid documents will be issued March 19th. The bids will be due April 13th, with the public hearing to be set for April 20th.
Questions or discussion?
I'd so move.
Second. It hasn't changed much since the workshop, the way it looks, so.
Exactly the same.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Thanks, Eddie.
Resolution 37-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 38-15, approving contract and bond for 2015 Cedar River retaining wall project. Discussion.
Well, the 2015 Cedar River retaining wall repairs project was awarded to Building and Grounds LLC at the council's March 2nd city council meeting. Their total bid was $37,119. This bid includes repairs to the terrace retaining walls in 2 locations. The one location on the south side of the river by the Main Street Dam next to the county courthouse parking lot. And the second area is on the north side of the river between, behind the library and the Baptist church, between the pedestrian bridge and almost to the Brandingham Street Bridge. The city has also received $27,000 from FEMA to reimburse the city for the flood-related damage. Following the council's approval of the contracts and bonds, we'll schedule a pre-construction meeting with the contractors, subcontractors, and utilities. The work will occur this spring with a final completion date scheduled on or before June 26. So we would recommend approval of the contract and bond for this project.
Discussion or questions?
So this is going to be a net cost to the city of about $10,000.
Yeah, we'll get because we have $27,000 coming from a FEMA grant.
I know we need to do it, but I think we were kind of the belief went back when we installed all that those rocks will never move, but they did.
Well, I don't think I was on the council at the time, but I remember some discussion that actually periodically, as we get floods, there may be some movement here and there until they get finalized, but they were going to be expect some repairs. I don't remember if it was 30,000 annually or something. There was some discussion on it, but it was, I don't believe I was on at the time, but they should have, to expect some movement here and there.
The 10,000 is just going to come out of general funds then, I would assume, or is that coming out of Park and Rec?
And we
budget,
can, it'll come out of the general fund, but we are levying money for the stabilization project, so it will come out of the debt service levy. So
Okay.
it'll be reimbursed through debt service levy.
Okay. Same question here, I guess, on the, has to be completed by June 26th. Seems like a lot of these contracts run right up until the end. And if we're looking at the whole Whitewater thing that Mark was just talking about, being in that same time frame, are we going to have to worry about that?
Well, no, I've been in discussion with Steve Lindeman on this as well.
Okay. But I'm just saying that's going to be a big event down here in the river, and the
Yeah.
last thing we need is a bunch of construction stuff sitting around and them in the middle of working on it when we're trying to do that weekend. So that's going to have to be something that somebody keeps in mind.
Yeah, we will.
And then if they're going to be potentially tearing stuff up, I mean, how's the ground going to look? Not necessarily down here, but further down. Is there going to be any machinery that's going to be tearing up some ground at all, or is it just obviously they're going to move some of the limestone blocks, and I'm sure they're not going to lift it with their hands.
Right.
That is, I'm assuming any damage to the ground will probably be repaired. But would they need to tape it off for grass seed, or just let it go, or if it's because obviously the courthouse parking lot, that's just blocks. But if it's further down, there's probably going to be some grass involved that. Basically, I don't want any big potholes or anything. Just make sure that's what I'm saying, is make sure that as part of that, any repairs need to be to the ground will be, I'm assuming, to be taken care of as well.
That's part of it, is reseeding.
Okay.
Further discussion or questions? I don't think I have one.
So move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Resolution 38-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 39-15, approving contract and bond for 2015 sewer lining project. Discussion.
Well, the 2015 sanitary sewer lining project was awarded to In Situ Form Technologies at the March 2nd City Council meeting. Their total bid for the project was $101,853.10. Now, this bid includes lining sanitary sewers in the Yorkshire area, as well as on 8th Avenue between D and J Streets. This work will be funded through the Sanitary Sewer Fund. Again, after the approval of the contracts and bonds, we'll schedule a pre-construction meeting with the contractor so we can go over construction details and scheduling. And this project has a completion date of on or before August 28th. So we would recommend approval of the contracts and bonds for this project.
What was the estimate on this one, John?
This was estimated, I believe it was $150,000.
Not to pick on you again, John. I feel like I've been picking on you all night tonight. Explain, I know we've all talked about, but explain again, please, the reason for these projects, for the relining.
Well, the sanitary sewer lining project is kind of an ongoing project. To what it is, it basically rebuilds the pipe from the inside rather than having to remove the pipe completely and having the cost of surface restoration. And what it does, it seals the pipe and prevents inflow and infiltration into the system to keep groundwater out from the sanitary sewer flows.
Thank you.
It's a lot cheaper than digging the streets up and replacing the pipes,
Much cheaper, yeah.
and extends the life of them. So,
And the fact that during a flood event, we treat 10 times more water than we do during regular times.
right.
We have a lot of inflow and infiltration issues, so.
And in situ form, have they done work for us before?
Not that I'm aware of.
But you were
but
familiar with them.
I was familiar with them, and they have offices all over, actually outside the country as well, so they're
So
a
they're
huge organization.
Huge organization, yeah. So, I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 39-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 40-15, approving lease for parking lot to Tyson's. Discussion.
Yeah, and Tyson's is requesting use of the parking lot for garden center again, similar to what we've done in recent years, and based on our new pricing structure that we put in place last year, as you see laid out there, they're requesting to lease that space from April 15th to July 15th.
Further discussion or questions?
So this one's going to last a little bit longer than Hy-Vee's, is that correct? I was thinking Hy-Vee's was going to be
It's a
done
little
around the...
Shorter, I think.
Is it?
Hy-Vee's, I think, went to August, I believe, didn't it?
I was thinking it was like,
Was it?
I thought it was the first week in July.
That's what I was thinking too,
Yeah.
it was
I
a
was
real early
thinking
short.
it was August for some reason, but
I've
they
been known to be
figured
wrong
they'd be,
before.
they
Oh,
figured
that's
they'd
the same
be
thing I was thinking.
shorter, though, I think, if I remember right. I know they came and they made it earlier than what they had requested
changed it,
earlier,
yeah.
but gosh, I was thinking it went through
Yeah, 'cause this one's like
August.
the 7th or something, but
It seems like it went through like the first week in August, sticks in my mind, Elaine, but I'm not 100%.
Doesn't sound
but
right to me.
Doesn't
but
sound right.
Me neither.
Okay, I'm probably the one
Make a
that
motion.
sounds it.
So,
I
Further
move.
discussion or questions?
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Star,
Aye.
Yeager, Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
aye.
40-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 41-15, providing for value-added property tax exemption for certain real property owned by Cambrex Charles City, Inc., pursuant to Section 15.332 of the Code of Iowa. Discussion.
And this
we've got a-
resolution, yeah,
Hot off the press.
hot off the press, we just got it this evening.
The
so-
resolution from Dorsey Whitney, they'll put this into place. What this is we're looking at doing a 90% exemption for 9 years on the new added value that Cambrex is planning on constructing. This is in association with the high-quality jobs incentives that the state is providing. This is our local aspect of the project, or a portion thereof. And one of the things I wanted to point out that we discussed about before was, since we're doing a property exemption in this case, as opposed to a property tax rebate using TIF, with this approach, we're exempting the taxes up front, rather than having them pay the taxes and then rebating. So with this approach, it had been discussed that those amount of property taxes that are typically exempt from rebate, which should be your debt service levies, the school PEPL levies, that particular amount was going to be safeguarded and not be part of the exemption. Well, and speaking to John Downs this afternoon, when you do an exemption, it's not possible to do that, because it's not as if you're receiving the taxes and rebating. They're not being paid up front to begin with. So they would not be paying that amount that would equate to the debt service or the PEPL levies. So, but the intent was that they would be protected. So what we did was, if you look under Section 3 on that last page, it talks about creating a pilot reimbursement payment, which is kind of an approach we've used before, where that amount that would have been typically protected from debt service will be paid in a pilot payment back to the city to be divvied out as it normally would. So it protects that debt service, which was the intent of this to begin with. So I told John it would have been nice to know that before this afternoon, and he apologized. But I sent that information along to Tim Fox this afternoon, just so he is aware of it, and so I think we can. And then I had John put this provision in at the back end, so we could go ahead and consider approval of this tonight.
Is there a rough dollar value of what the 90% is and 100% and so on?
There is, but I don't have that with me,
Okay.
unfortunately.
And speaking of Tim Fox, how does this fit in with his scale of, as far as providing incentives based on what the company's bringing? I know he has that, and we've been looking at that from time to time.
Yeah, we have I call it the Whopper, or the matrix, the incentive matrix, whatever you want to call it, where it has basically 4 different factors: jobs added, average wage, total investment dollar-wise, and then one of the most important things is how much assessed value is it actually adding, you know, what does it add that we can actually consider incentivizing. So you take those different levels and how they rate on that chart, and it came out to a score that said that we should offer this 90% over 9 years in exemption, or we could, if it's in a TIF area, we could look at doing a similar TIF rebate. It scored very high. In fact, one area, the investment, you know, they're looking at a $66 million investment, and the chart stops at $20 million. So the chart is about 12 years old, though, I think.
As long as we don't stop the project at 20 million.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not assessed value. That's total expenditures put into the project. But nonetheless, we use that matrix to help come up with this amount, to help, you know, justify why we're doing this and doing this amount. But with that said, I think it's probably time to look at that matrix just to make sure it's up and current and functioning the way that we want it to.
One, as you just said too, I think that matrix helps us to, you know, back the decisions we're making. That way, there's no question of favoritism or anything else. Just say, hey, this is based on the score. This is what we've determined. That it just helps us to back up what we're saying.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't take into account like debt service protection. You know, some of the rollback necessarily, how some of those things are impacting it. So. And
it's not going to be perfect, but it has a good basis.
Yes, the idea behind it is great, because I mean that is a tricky question. You know each project's different. It has its different pros and cons, and who knows, we might want to add a fifth column for sustainability and how they score points that way to score. So, you know, I think it's something that we need to look at and just refresh. It's been a while.
Further discussion or questions?
So that pilot payment will actually come to the city, or will that go to the county? So normally the taxes are paid to the county, and we get the payment from the county. So
right.
Just not quite making sense to me, but.
Well, we have it drawn up in here to come back to the city.
And we'll turn around and give it to the county then?
We'll either give the full amount to the county and have them divvy that out. That's probably what we would do.
I think so too. That would make more sense.
Rather than us trying to figure out how to split that apart.
Divvy it out. Mm-hmm.
Do we need to amend this
so that it goes
motion so that it's proper?
Well, I guess I don't have a problem with them bringing it and giving it to the city, but if we want to put in there that it'll be then passed along to the county for disbursement.
I guess it's a good.
I'll look at our legal representative here.
Mm-hmm.
See what he thinks.
Well, as far as my non-legal opinion goes, I think it's better for us to correct it prior to than after the fact. But
I mean, is it something that needs to be passed today?
Well, ask Tim. It doesn't absolutely have to. We could. Or we could pass a contingent upon advice from John Danos.
Yeah, why don't you pass it that way?
Okay.
That way we can word that the way it needs to be specifically, because I think we want to be able to know, we as the city know that amounts come in, so we can keep on top of it, so we know that it's happening. But when it actually goes to the mechanics of it being dispersed out, that's the county's.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. We don't necessarily want to get involved in that side of it, but everyone needs to get their cut.
I'd so move with the stipulation that it's worked out with Danos.
Yeah.
And one last thing on the first page, section 1, that date should be 2016 assessment year. There's a blank there as far as what year. So I was confirming with Mr. Fox when they were going to be when they anticipate being done with the project, and that is this calendar year they plan on being done. So if that's the case, it'll be 100% on the tax roll for January. If not, we might have wanted to wait till 2017 until 100% was on the tax roll, then begin the exemption. But it sounds like they're going to be done this calendar year yet. So long story short, that should be 2016.
Can't have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Resolution 41-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 42-15, setting date of public hearing on amendment to urban renewal plan for the Southwest Bypass Urban Renewal Area. Discussion.
Now, this is the second part of the Cambrooks project, where the area commonly known as the Southwest TIF, which is operated jointly between the city and the county, has been asked to incentivize the project as well by the means of a $40,000 forgivable loan. This $40,000 forgivable loan will be issued by the city, and then we will look to amend the urban renewal plan to incorporate that project so that we can then certify $40,000 in TIF dollars is coming December 1st to get repaid for that $40,000 upfront contribution. And so we're setting the public hearing tonight to discuss that at our April 20th meeting, I believe. Yes.
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Okay. Resolution 42-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 43-15, committing city to funding and maintenance for Clark Street Extension. Discussion.
This project is, as you see there, it's a $180,000 project, and I know what I mentioned the other day was we have a match of 20% figured in. But we talked about a match of 25% to maybe make it more competitive. But in talking with John now that he's back, he feels that we have a pretty strong application, and I would tend to agree with the current match at 20%, which is the $36,000. So. Just to make that clarification, it'll be 20%, unless you wanted to bump it to 25, but the 36 is the 20%. But what this would be an application to trail funding source known as TAP, and we would be applying this current year for a project that will be done in the next fiscal year at the soonest. So next year we'll have to budget that amount. But effectively what it'll do is it'll extend the 10-foot wide trail, basically the Phase 2 portion of the Clark Street Trail, which currently goes from the trail, or Salisbury there, to Terrace Street, or Terrace Road. And as many times as I drive by, and it's fairly frequently, I see somebody on that all the time, so it'll be nice to be able to extend this further down Clark Street, past Allied, the Elks, and then ultimately connect in the Yorkshire and Lakeshore Drive area, and connect them into the city. I know we mentioned there's ample existing right of way, so no additional right of way will have to be obtained, and so we encourage the council to approve the grant application.
I think I've asked you this, but right before you get to Lakeshore, you got a waterway. We're not going to bridge that?
No, we will, actually, there's culverts underneath, pipe culverts underneath Clark Street now, and we'll extend those out,
Extend the
upstream,
culvert
basically,
out and then just go over it.
so the
Okay.
trail can cross over that.
Okay.
Further discussion or questions?
I tried to help you out here. I told our Elks manager, if this goes through, you're going to have to shovel it, but it didn't work, so I'll second Delaine's motion.
Any further questions or discussion?
I'll accept Jerry's offer.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 43-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 44-15, approving contract with John Howe for cleaning services at City Hall building. Discussion.
I can take this, Steve. We had not gone out for bids for cleaning here at City Hall ever since I've been here, I know. So we went out, yeah. So we went out for bids. We got, I believe, 7 back. There was 2 of them that were tied, which was really odd. So we did some background checks and some other information that we looked at, and we decided to go with John Howe. And he has provided us with the necessary insurance. So we are going to sign on with him effective April 1st, we're hoping. So he's been in, he's done a walk through the building, so he knows what we're looking at doing. So
This compares to what have we been paying?
we've been paying $700 a month, and his bid is $850 a month, and that includes both sides, the PD side and the business office and the council chambers here.
And 700 didn't cover all that.
It did.
It did, okay.
Yes. Yes.
So
it's gonna
other
be
than
the
just not
exact
having
same
bid it
thing.
out, was there an issue with the current work or service?
It was just, I think, time just to go out and bid it out. We're going to do the same thing with the carpet cleaning. We just thought it was time. And we've had a lot of people that have been inquiring about it over the last year or two, wondering if we ever went out for bids for this type of a service. So we just thought, you know what, might not be a bad idea just to go out there and see what was out there. So
So move.
Second.
Further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 44-15 is approved. Consideration of the second reading ordinance 1080, changing the zoning classification for certain lots and alleyway in the R.M. Townsend Irregular Survey from B-2 General Business District to R-2 General Residence District. Discussion.
The city is actually initiating this rezoning. This is to rezone property on the south side of 6th Avenue right-of-way between J Street and the Charlie Western Trail. It's currently zoned B2 General Business, and it's going to be rezoned to General Residence District R2 to match more of its proposed and current use. The Planning and Zoning Commission has held a hearing on this, and they recommend approval of this rezoning. So we recommend approval of the second reading of Ordinance 1080.
We've discussed this previously. Essentially, this is just cleaning up the zoning for what's currently being used for. And so with that, I'd move for the second reading.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Take it we haven't had any feedback since the first reading.
No, none.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Second reading is approved. May I have the second reading?
Ordinance number 1080, an ordinance changing the zoning classification for certain lots and alleyway in the R.M. Townsend Irregular Survey from B2 General Business District to R2 General Residence District.
Thank you. Consideration of second reading of ordinance 1081, reclassifying lots 45 to 55 of Brackett's Grand Avenue Addition, subdivision of Block 151, Lanes Addition to St. Charles, now a part of Charles City, Iowa, from COS, Conservation and Open Space District, to R-2 General Residence District. Discussion.
This is a second area that the city is actually initiating the rezoning of. This area is on the west side of Missouri Avenue between 15th and 16th Avenues. This is east of Sportsman's Park. This area is used as a residential area, but actually on the zoning map, it's zoned commercial, conservation open space. And it just appears to be an error in the mapping. It was brought to our attention as part of a house sale, or a potential sale that's up there. The Planning and Zoning Commission has met. They also recommend this approval of this rezoning request. So we would recommend approval of the second reading of ordinance 1081.
Basically cleaning up. Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Second reading of ordinance 1081 is approved. Can we have the second reading?
Ordinance number 1081, an ordinance reclassifying lots 45 to 55 of Brackett's Grand Avenue Addition, subdivision of Block 151, Lanes Addition to St. Charles, now a part of Charles City, Iowa, from COS, Conservation and Open Space District, to R2, General Residence District.
Thank you. Consideration of Resolution 45-15, approving agreement with Charles City Community School for inclusion of First Avenue Extension Project, in which Phase 1 bid of middle school project in width, I'm sorry. Discussion.
Well, as we've discussed, we've talked about with the school, the extension of a portion of First Avenue in association with their project for the middle school construction. Phase 1 is going to include other parking and drive flat work for the school project. And so what we've discussed is including that extension of First Avenue in with their project. So we could utilize some economies of scale from the rest of their project being bid, as well as utilize their engineers for helping draft and oversee the project. So what this agreement does is it spells out how the city and school will work together for this project. We plan on extending First Avenue from its current termination point just east of L Street down to Park Avenue, which will connect about 3 blocks there and provide much better access for not only the school and how that's going to come around, but for that entire neighborhood in general. What we've put in a clause as this project's going to be bid as an alternate bid with the school project. And so we put in at the back end there that if the project happens to be over 10% of our city engineer's estimate for the project, that the city could consider not doing the project. In that case, the school could still certainly go ahead and do that first block of the project, which is what they would have interest in doing if that were the case. But I felt it was important that we put some type of trigger in there so we know that whatever the bid comes in, we're not just going to accept it, we're going to consider it and make sure that it's cost effective. So the school has reviewed this agreement, which was drafted by the city attorney, and we recommend that the council approve it. And the way it'll work is they'll put this in their bids and specs. They'll be bidding it out here in the next few weeks, and then we'll have 20 days from when the bids come in to sit down and review and see if we want to accept the project. So we recommend to the council.
I think the plans have a area coming off of that parking lot to butt it up to L Street to have a regular intersection there, rather than now it's off-centered a little bit. That's going to be the school responsibility. We're just going to do First Avenue for 3 blocks.
That's correct. Yeah, there's a number of improvements happening on this that are just going to make general safety and general traffic flow of the area improved. Currently, the parking lot that exists for the school there, kind of in that northwest section, has an access point halfway in between L Street and Salisbury, which comes in an angle, which it just makes for a bad intersection. So what they're proposing is their new parking lot will actually tie up right at the intersection of First Avenue and L Street, make it a much safer intersection. And then the other part of the road that wraps around the back of the school will ultimately tie in right to where Highland Avenue would be on First Avenue, so.
And with the previous discussion, we also mentioned that we're not just simply extending to extend either. That was part of the original plans of that addition. It was to have First Avenue go, it just had never been completed to this point.
That's correct. That's correct. And the only work that we really need to do is actually the pavement itself. You know, that was a question. As far as water, sewer, there's no. I mean, some storm sewer intake work maybe.
But yeah, sanitary sewer, water main, those were placed in that area in 1994. And there's just, at the bottom of the hill close to Park Avenue, there'll be a couple of intakes that'll be outletted to an existing waterway there.
You got very little grading to do, if any.
Yeah.
It's all existing city right-of-way, so there's no, we don't have to, we don't have to obtain any right-of-way. It's all city property, so it'll provide better access to that entire neighborhood, better access for safety, emergency equipment. So there's a lot of good things happening with that extension.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
The motion is approved for Resolution 45-15. Consideration of a motion to approve resignation of Police Officer Brian Wade. Discussion.
Typically, resignations are something I could usually handle, but the reason this has come before the council is that there is a stipulation in there as far as him being under contract from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy, and so we recommended that we waive any requirement that he would have to repay us for his attendance to the academy.
I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Consideration of unfinished business.
Should have finished it all by now, Your Honor.
Consideration of new business. Miscellaneous correspondence.
None, Your Honor.
City Attorney's report.
Yes, Your Honor. Nuisance update. Code enforcement has identified 3 nuisance properties that they are considering high priority, and we've reached out to the owners of those properties and received some cooperation from 2 of them so far. So we are working on arranging for inspections of the property, at which point code enforcement would identify what renovations need to be made to the property, and we're hoping to get cooperation from the owners in making those renovations. So it'll be an ongoing process, but we're hoping to get inspections done within the next few weeks.
Good.
I've been working with Steve on the lease on 401 North Main. Hope to have something to you by the planning session, which I believe is next Monday. And the lease for 1308 Clark Street as well, working on the details of that. So.
Excuse me, Brad, 401 North Main's not part of your nuisance property, is it?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, I got lost there.
Thanks for the update. That's
Thank
important
you.
nuisance.
City Clerk's report.
We will have a planning session on March 23rd. And with a very Irish name like O'Donnell, I'm going to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. So,
Green beer and coffee
green
break?
beer and coffee, yep.
You know this?
City Administrator's report.
Yeah, this is one of the things we're working on right now is we're working on finalizing a treatment agreement with Diversified Fasteners. They've got a new galvanized line that's going to be coming online here in the next few weeks, and so part of that requires some special attention as far as wastewater treatment goes, and so Brad and I are working on, and Dan are working on finalizing the final wording in that agreement so we can get them up and running. I was contacted by the League of Cities today. They are doing a follow-up story on the Connect Iowa program, and they want to talk to Charles City and see what we felt of the process, the incomes, outcomes, and Connect Iowa in general. So you may be seeing more on that in Cityscape magazine or what have you. Mayor, be ready for a call. And lastly, this week I'm going to be in Iowa City between Wednesday and Friday for the IMMI Spring City Managers Conference. So I'll be available by email or phone if you need me, but I won't be at City Hall. That's all.
Board, commission, or committee reports?
Don't really have anything there, but I just wanted to ask a quick question of Steve and John. You know, building season's going to be getting going here pretty soon one of these days, and I know I've asked a couple different times about getting together with Mr. Thompson on his project and the net zero, projects. I guess I'm just wondering where we're at, or if we're going to get something lined up to visit with those folks at a workshop sometime, or...
Yeah, we will definitely reach out and see if we can set up a time to have them come down and share their thoughts and be available for questions.
Okay.
I think that's real good, Lane. I haven't had questions about that, too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned.